Hello and welcome to another in-depth build guide, this time for Rogue. I'm going to show you how I'm going to level up the skills as I'm leveling up, all the legendary powers, and how I'm going to level up the paragon board as I level. First, I'm going to get Heartseeker, fire an arrow that seeks an enemy, dealing 22% damage and increasing your critical strike chance against them by 3% for 4 seconds up to 15%. Then I'm going to get Enhanced Heartseeker. When Heartseeker critically strikes, gain 8% attack speed for 4 seconds, double this amount if the enemy is vulnerable. This whole build is going to try to make enemies vulnerable or crowd controlled through traps and lucky hits, and trying to make enemies explode. After those 2 points, get Penetrating Shot. Get as many points in that till you get to your agility skills. Penetrating Shot. Fire an arrow that pierces through all enemies in a line, dealing 91% damage. Then pick up Caltrops. Then once you pick up Caltrops, I would go back and complete doing Penetrating Shot, because that's going to be your most used skill. Then get Enhanced Penetrating Shot. Penetrating Shot deals 10% increased damage per enemy it pierces. Then if Penetrating Shot damages at least 3 enemies, your next Penetrating Shot has a 20% increased crit strike chance. Then I would go back up and get Fundamental Heartseeker. Heartseeker also increases the critical strike damage the enemy takes from you by 5% for 4 seconds up to 25%. Then that unlock the Subterfuge skills, and you get Dark Shroud. Then Dark Shroud surrounds yourself with up to 5 protective shadows, gain 8% damage reduction per active shadow each time you take direct damage. That damage is reduced and shadow is consumed. Then you get Dark Shroud shadows have a 10% chance to not be consumed. And all you have at least 4 active shadows from Dark Shroud gain an 8% critical strike chance. There's going to be a legendary power that increases how many dark shadows you can gain. Then get enemies take 3% increased damage from you each second they are in caltrops. And then you have 5% critical strike chance against enemies inside your caltrops, double this amount against vulnerable enemies. Then that'll lock imbuement skills. Get shadow imbuement. I would increase this to 5 and get Shadow imbues your weapons with festering shadows. Your next 2 imbuable skills deal shadow damage and infect enemies for 6 seconds. Infected enemies explode on death, dealing 56% damage to all surrounding enemies. You have 15% increased critical strike chance against injured enemies infected by shadow imbuement. And then Shadow Imbuement's primary explosion makes enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. Then get your ultimate. Arrows rain down over a large area 2 times each wave, dealing 100% damage. Vehement skill effects applied by rain of arrows have 20% increased potency. Rain of arrows second wave knocks down enemies for 3 seconds. The shadow imbuement affects rain of arrows and your core skill, penetrating shot. Those are your 2 imbuable skills. Then go up here and get caltrops. And increase Heartseeker. Need 1 more point. Then once you get to key passes, get Victimize, Lucky Hit, dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has up to 30% chance of causing an explosion, dealing 23% of the original damage to them and surrounding enemies. Then go back up here and finish Heartseeker. Then complete Shroud up to 5. Once all those are finished, get 1 point in Lucky Hit, up to a 10% chance to gain 8 energy. Then get 3 in Second Wind. Every 100 energy you spend grants you 15% increased Lucky Hit chance for 5 seconds. And then 3 points non-physical damage you deal has 15% increased Lucky Hit chance. Mostly gonna happen when you use Shadow Imbuement, because you'll be dealing shadow damage instead of physical. Then you deal 18% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies. This is gonna help you kill enemies faster. Then you get 3 points in Malice. You deal 9% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. While moving, you gain 15% increased energy regeneration. And then your last 3 is Lucky Hit. Shadow damage has up to 10% chance to stun for 1.5 seconds. This is going to help with making enemies crowd controlled and stuff like that through the build. That's all the skill points. Then for legendary powers, Helm, you gain 15 to 25% increased Lucky Hit chance against crowd controlled enemies. You can crowd control through slow or the stun and shadow. And then for chest. Lucky hit: when you hit a crowd controlled enemy, there is up to 30 to 50% chance for that crowd controlled effect to spread to another unaffected enemy. And then for gloves, whenever penetrating shot damages enemy, 2 additional arrows split off to either side. These side arrows deal 30 to 40% of the penetrating shot's base damage and do not split. For the pants, lucky hit: critical strikes with marksman skills have up to 30 to 50% chance to grant you a free dark shroud shadow that helps decrease damage, and if you have 4, you gain 8% crit strike chance. For the boots, lucky hit: dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has up to 25 to 45% chance to daze them for 2 seconds. That's another crowd control. Then for one of the melee weapons, your marksman skills have up to 10% chance to create an arrow storm at the enemy's location, dealing 540 to 675 physical damage over 3 seconds. You can have up to 5 active arrow storms. Another melee, your imbuement skill effects have 20 to 40% increased potency against vulnerable enemies. Then your ranged weapon, lucky hit: dealing direct damage to enemies affected by your trap skills, has up to 30 to 50% chance to make them vulnerable for 3 seconds. This lucky hit is going to help make things vulnerable and deal crowd control effects and all that. That's why you're going to need to use your caltrops a whole lot. Then for one of the rings, when casting an imbuement skill, you trigger an imbued explosion around yourself, applying the imbuement effects and dealing 140 to 275 damage of the same type. Then for another ring, killing a vulnerable enemy grants you 50 to 70% increased energy regeneration for 4 seconds. That's going to help you do more penetrating shots. Then for amulet, your rain of arrows is always imbued with all imbuements at once. If you can't get these uniques, then I would go with something that will make things stunned or crowd controlled, or even this, lucky hit: making an enemy vulnerable has up to 30 to 50% chance to grant 3% increased crit strike chance for 3 seconds, up to 9%. That's another good one if you can't get these uniques, because uniques are going to be hard to find in the game. Then to the paragon board. I'll level up this way, getting the damage and 4% life. More damage as you go up this way. Get your first glyph spot. That's going to be snare. For this, I would get all the spots I can around that has whatever I need, which is intelligence. This is the only build I would do this for, which is the rogue. Because you're going to want to get the non-ultimate trap skills that have 25% increased radius. If I wasn't too worried about the bonus effect, I wouldn't be doing this. And then go up, getting damage, and all the intelligence around it. Then go to your first board. Which is going to be Deadly Ambush. And turn the board like this. You want to get trap cooldown because like I said, you're going to want to use caltrops a whole lot to make enemies crowd controlled and vulnerable with the legendary power. Then go up and get the legendary node. You deal 22.5% increased crit strike damage to enemies affected by your trap skills. Then go over and get glyph. You're going to want to get exploit because you're going to want the bonus really fast. When an enemy is damaged by you, they become vulnerable for 3 seconds. This cannot happen more than once every 20 seconds per enemy. That's really strong because you're going to want enemies vulnerable to increase crowd control and all that, and deal more damage to vulnerable. And that you need strength, so pick up all the strength around. Then get all this damage to enemies affected by trap skills. I didn't need to get that point. Make sure everything is connected. Don't need that point either. Then I would go up here and get the trap skill damage to enemies. And then go this way. Get exploit weakness. Keep the layout like this. Go to the legendary node. Whenever you deal damage to a vulnerable enemy, they take 1% increased damage from you for 6 seconds up to 15%. Then come down through here and pick up all these vulnerable damage, damage to injured. Then get the glyph. This glyph is control. For every 5 intelligence purchased within range, you deal 3% increased damage to crowd controlled targets. Bonus, you deal 10% increased damage to slowed or chilled enemies, or instead 20% increased damage to stunned or frozen enemies. That's it for that side. Then go this way. This one is cheap shot. Keep the layout this way. Pick up all these and come down here and pick up the legendary node. You deal 5% increased damage for each nearby enemy that is crowd controlled up to 25%. Then go this way. Pick up the glyph. This glyph is devious. Grants 50% bonus to all magic nodes within range. Bonus when you hit an enemy with an attack that applies crowd control effect. They take 2% up to 10% increased damage from you for 20 seconds. So get all those. Then go up this way. Get damage to crowd control. and then the rare node damage crowd control. Then come down this way, get all the damage to healthy nodes. Then got 12 more points. There's nothing else I really want, so I'm just gonna go back through and pick up dexterity nodes that is close. And that's it for this build. I'll have a link in the description for the build. The lucky hit, vulnerable, and explosion build. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, and I have more builds coming for other classes. If you want to hit the subscribe, and when Diablo 4 finally comes out, I'll be playing Sorcerer on release. So until next time, see ya.